3 years ago, he was eating from a gas station dumpster behind a Shell station at 2 a.m. Today, he signs payroll for 14 employees across 3 different businesses. And the craziest part, the thing that turned his whole life around cost him exactly $0 to start. If you've ever felt like you need money to make money, stay right here, because this story is about to wreck that excuse completely. Let's call him Marcus. The name's changed, but the path is real. Pieced together from the kind of comeback stories that never trend on social media because they take years, not weeks. No viral moment, no lucky break. Just a guy who got tired of being tired and did something about it at the worst possible time. Marcus had a normal life before everything fell apart. Decent job at a warehouse, a 1-bedroom apartment, a car that mostly worked. Then his company lost a major contract, and 40 people got laid off in one Friday afternoon meeting. He was one of them. Here's the thing about losing a job like that. It doesn't feel like the end at first. You think, okay, I'll find something in a few weeks. Marcus thought that too, except a few weeks turned into 2 months. 2 months turned into 4, and 4 months without income, in a city where rent doesn't wait for you to get back on your feet, turned into an eviction notice taped to his door on a Tuesday morning. By that winter, Marcus was living out of his car. And then the car got repossessed too, because surprise, you still owe payments on a car even when you're sleeping in it. So he ended up on the streets, properly homeless, for the first time in his life. No shelter spot available most nights. Just a backpack, 2 changes of clothes, and a phone with a cracked screen that he kept alive by charging it at the public library. People assume homelessness means giving up. Marcus says it was the opposite. It was the most clear-headed he'd ever been in his life, because every single decision actually mattered. No Netflix to numb out with, no distractions, just hours and hours of just thinking. And one of the things he kept thinking about was a conversation from 2 years earlier. Back when he had that warehouse job, his coworker used to sell sneakers on the side, cleaning them up, restoring yellowed soles, reselling pairs that looked trashed for triple what he paid. Marcus used to watch him do it on lunch breaks and think it looked easy. He never tried it himself. Why would he? He had a steady paycheck. Now he had nothing but time and a memory of exactly how that process worked. So here's where the roadmap actually begins, and pay attention to this part, because it's the move almost nobody makes when they're at rock bottom. Marcus didn't ask anyone for money. He went to a thrift store that sold beat-up, unwanted shoes for $2 or $3 a pair, the kind nobody wanted because they looked destroyed. He used the last bit of cash he had, $11, and bought 4 pairs. He cleaned them using a method he remembered: dish soap, an old toothbrush, and water from a gas station bathroom sink. Took him most of a day. Then he photographed them using a stranger's phone outside a library that had decent lighting near the window, and posted them for sale on a local resale app using the library's Wi-Fi. All 4 pairs sold within 3 days. He made $46 off an $11 investment. That's lesson 1. And it's the foundation everything else was built on. You don't need capital to start a business. You need a skill, even a borrowed one, applied to something other people are already throwing away. Marcus didn't invent shoe restoration. He copied it from a guy at work. The idea was never the hard part. Starting with nothing was the hard part, and he proved it could be done with $11 and a free Wi-Fi connection. He took that $46 and bought 8 more pairs, then 16. Within 6 weeks, he'd saved enough to get a bed at a transitional shelter that let him store a small bin of supplies. That bin became his first piece of real estate, his first inventory room, even though it was the size of a shoebox itself. 3 months in, Marcus had enough saved to rent a tiny room above a laundromat. No furniture except a mattress on the floor, but it had an address, and that address let him do something huge: open an actual seller account that needed a verified shipping location. That single change took his sneaker business from a local side hustle to something that could ship anywhere in the country. This is where business number 1 stopped being a hustle and became a real company. He stopped buying random thrift store pairs one at a time and started building relationships with thrift store managers directly, asking them to set aside damaged designer sneakers before they even hit the shelves. He'd pay a flat rate per bag, sight unseen, because he'd gotten good enough at restoration that almost anything was profitable. And that's lesson 2. The moment a business actually becomes a business is the moment you stop reacting to whatever inventory shows up and start controlling the supply yourself. Marcus went from hoping to find good pairs to guaranteeing himself a pipeline of them, and his profit margins basically doubled overnight because he was buying in bulk at a discount instead of paying retail thrift prices 1 pair at a time. By month 8, He hired his first employee, not officially, just a guy from the same shelter who needed work and had steady hands. Marcus taught him the cleaning process, paid him per pair restored, and suddenly Marcus wasn't the guy cleaning shoes anymore. He was the guy running the operation. That shift, from doing the work to managing the work, is the actual line between a hustle and a business, and most people never cross it because doing the work feels safer. There's a part of this stretch Marcus doesn't skip over when he tells the story, because it wasn't all clean momentum. Around month 10, he got scammed by a buyer who claimed a pair arrived damaged, got a refund, and still kept the shoes. Lost almost a week of profit in one hit. He almost quit that week, sitting in that tiny room above the laundromat doing the math on whether this was even worth it anymore. What kept him going wasn't motivation. It was simpler than that. He just didn't have anything else lined up, and going back to nothing felt worse than pushing through one bad week. So he tightened his return policy, started requiring video proof before refunds, and kept moving. Business number 2 showed up almost by accident, the way the best ones usually do. Customers kept messaging him, asking if he could also clean and restore leather jackets, bags, even car seats. He'd say no, again and again, for months, until one slow week he actually counted the requests in his messages. 31 people had asked him to do something he wasn't offering, in just that 1 month alone. So lesson 3, and this is the one creators talk about the least. Your customers will hand you your next business idea for free over and over if you're actually reading your messages instead of just replying, "Sorry, I don't do that." He partnered with someone who already understood leather restoration, agreed to a 60-40 split since Marcus was bringing the customer base and the brand, and business number 2 launched under the same name, same audience, just a wider menu of services, 0 new marketing spend, same people, more reasons to buy. By year 2, Marcus had genuinely turned his life around. Apartment, savings, 2 profitable businesses, and most importantly, options. This is exactly the point where most people get comfortable and stop pushing. Marcus didn't, because he noticed something strange buried in his own supplier relationships. The thrift stores he'd built relationships with kept asking him if he wanted to buy their damaged inventory in even bigger bulk, beyond what he could personally restore and resell. He'd been turning some of it down simply because he didn't have time to process it all himself. One night he ran the numbers on what he was leaving on the table, and it stopped him cold. There was more profit sitting in simply reselling bulk damaged inventory to other small resellers, people just like he used to be, than there was in doing the restoration work himself. So he built business number 3 around exactly that. A small wholesale operation supplying damaged and discounted sneakers and apparel to other independent resellers across the region, the same way someone had unknowingly inspired him at the very beginning. The most unglamorous business of the 3. Also, by far the most profitable, because it required almost no labor compared to restoration, just relationships and logistics. And that's lesson 4. The one that ties the whole roadmap together. Your most profitable business is frequently hiding inside a business you already run, disguised as the boring overflow you don't have time to deal with properly. It rarely looks exciting. It usually looks like an annoying surplus problem, right up until you actually do the math on it. What strikes most people about Marcus's story isn't any single decision. It's the order things happened in. He didn't plan 3 businesses from a homeless shelter. He solved one problem with one skill, got slightly ahead, then noticed the next problem sitting right in front of him, and solved that one too. Each business funded the next one's starting costs. Each customer base fed the next one's first sales. Nothing was built from a 5-year plan. It was built from paying close attention 3 or 4 times in a row when most people would have stopped paying attention after the first win. So if you're sitting somewhere right now feeling stuck, broke, maybe even somewhere uncomfortably close to where Marcus started, here's the entire roadmap compressed down for you. 1. Find a skill, even one you borrowed by watching someone else, and apply it to something other people are already discarding or undervaluing. 2. The moment money starts coming in, stop trading your own hours for it and start controlling your supply and your team instead. 3. Pay real attention to what your customers keep asking you for that you're currently saying no to, because that request is your next product handed to you for free. And 4. Look inside whatever you're already running for the overflow, the boring leftover piece you haven't taken seriously, because that's frequently where the real money has been quietly sitting the whole time. None of it required a loan. None of it required permission from anybody. It required a backpack, $11, and a guy who refused to stay still in a moment that would have justified giving up completely. So here's the only question worth sitting with after watching this. What's the skill you already know, even one you just watched someone else do, that you haven't taken seriously enough to actually start. If this story moved you even a little, hit subscribe, because the next roadmap on this channel could be the exact one that changes your life the way this one changed his.